What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's Creators Live. My name is Bryan. I am your host. Thank you all for joining me today. Today we're going to be going over some of the longer term maintenance items that we didn't have time to touch on a couple weeks ago. So we're going to be looking at the waste pad, the little spit tray, and then washing out the ink bottles. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. I would like to poll for some volunteers of wins to share from this last week. Any win havers in the group here? Mr. Tony, you were one of the first people here in the group, and lay it on us. What's something that you've accomplished that you would be willing to share with the group here?
What's new is finding out about this creator thing live. So I didn't know anything about it until recently.
You learned about Creators Live and you've joined us. I am happy. I'm happy with that win, and thank you for joining us. All right, okay, that's a pretty good one. Let's pick on Emily today. Emily's in the group here. You guys know her and you love her. Emily, what's a win you've got to share with the group from this last week? What's going on?
I think a win every day is being able to help out our clients. Whenever one of you guys need any help, reach out to us and we're able to assist you. So definitely a lot of wins for this week, being able to assist you guys on any requests, any inquiries you guys have.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. A little bit of a cop-out, but I'll give you a pass this time. Little bit. Okay, Mr. Benny, did you get your microphone situation taken care of? Let's see.
I've got my machine running in the background. I don't know if you can hear that.
Nope, it's okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
No, I'm just new to the industry. Just learning a lot from you guys. And once I have some good news, I'll spread it out.
Excellent. Well, you know what? I think you can piggyback off of Tony here and just taking the time to join us on these Wednesdays. I know for some people it's kind of an awkward time, but taking the time to learn about new things. Which machine do you have? Actually, that'll go for you and for Tony.
Well, I don't have the machine, the DTG, but I do have a DTF. But I'm really focusing on the DTG. I'm hearing good, positive things about it, and that's why I'm here. Try to be on here at least once a week,
Nice.
On your weeklies.
Right on. Perfect place to be. And Mr. Tony, he's typing FreeJet 330TX Plus. So this is an excellent one for you to be on. So that's what we're going to be working on today. We're doing some of for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, we're going to be touching on some of the extended maintenance items that we didn't have time to touch on a couple of weeks ago. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Interrupt me with questions. Go ahead and do a hand raise if you have anything as I'm going, or if I'm going too fast. I won't repeat myself, but I will go slower if need be. I've had a lot of caffeine today, and I don't want to go too fast for you guys. All right, so we're going to start off. We're going to be looking at the waste pad over here, opposite to where the gantry docks, where your pump is. This box is called the spit tray, or the waste ink pad, waste tray. Right in here, we were talking about just keeping it clean a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't talk about how to actually remove it and clean it. One thing that a lot of folks do, I playfully call it the lazy way to maintenance this area, is as you see it fill up with ink, just stick a syringe in there and drain it. But today we're going to go over the correct way to do it and clean it out and do it nicely. So in order to remove this box, there's two screws. So there's going to be on the front of your gantry, there's a hole for your screwdriver here. And then there's going to be one that you access from above in order to remove this box. So we're going to start by taking out the screws. Regular number 2 screwdriver, nothing special. Okay. This screwdriver is not magnetized, so I just lost that screw. That's all right. I'll fish it out once I get the box out. Okay. We should be good. Okay. And this guy comes right out. So this is what was in there. Mine is not incredibly dirty. You can still see the pad in there. So it's not as bad as it would be when when you should be cleaning this. When it's time to clean this, this will be like a pool of ink in here. So it's really not that bad right now. So what you want to do, carefully, you're going to remove this lid. It's pretty thin, so you do want to be careful not to pry it. Here, let me, for the camera. You don't want to pry it too much from the edges where it's thinner, because you can bend. Here, I got to make sure to keep this in frame. You don't want to bend this thinner area here, because that will, you know, if not paid attention to, it can come in contact with the head when the head comes over. So you do need to be aware of what you're working on and the proximity to the head when you're putting it back. So we'll set this to the side. This one, we cleaned the surface of this last week, did a pretty good job here, so I'm not really seeing much to pay attention to. Depending on the version of your machine, so when it was produced, sometimes you will have an extra screw here to keep the lid down, and some versions will not have that. So if you have that screw, take it out before you remove the lid. So then all you do, stick in, you know, pliers, tweezers, whatever, and we're gonna go ahead and fish out. Actually, this one's not that dirty, so I can kind of just tip it out. And you can remove these pads. So you can see this wasn't ready to replace because the bottom one is pretty much fresh. Just because I'm already in here, I'm gonna replace it anyway. But you would want this much more used up, where every single piece looks like this and it's just a pool of ink in there. That's really when it's gonna be most valuable to get in here. So we'll set these to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them away. And you'll have a fresh set of pads here. It'll come in a little stack of 3 pre-cut. We have them bundled in with the FreeJet support kit. So for those of you who are newer to owning a FreeJet, you might not know about the FreeJet support kit. It'll come with all of the little ancillary consumables, so the short ink tubes that the clips go on, the clips themselves, the dampers, the pump, the pad that goes under the pump, and the pads that go in here. And Hampton's comment is something that I neglected to talk about. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers who are in the group here. Okay, all right, so we've got this replaced. We'll go ahead and just put this back together. There's a little, on this version of the box, there's a little hook here. So on the back edge, let's see an angle that I can show it. So on the back edge, there's a little tab, a little hook tab here. So I'm gonna make sure to line that up. Everything is sitting nice and flat. Nothing is warped or sitting higher than the rest. I'm gonna go ahead and fish out my screws that I nearly lost earlier. If you guys don't have one, I do recommend getting one of those magnets that you can magnetize your screwdrivers with. Super handy. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the box back in and put it back how you found it. Easy peasy. Get this going. We want to let's see if I can fit the screw through the hole. No, I need to connect it on the other side. So for this one, because I don't have a magnetized screwdriver, it's going to be a little bit tricky. I have to stick the screwdriver through and then line up the screw. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit of a pain. If I struggle with it too much, we'll just come back to it after Creators Live with a magnetized screwdriver. Okay, give that another shot. Get this box in here, into place. Screw and guide it in. There we have it. Cool. So I will almost completely tighten it. Leave a little bit of slack so that I have room to maneuver for the other screw hole. Okay, for my veteran FreeJet owners in the group here today, how many of you have never taken this box out? Do you guys usually just stick a syringe in and suck out the juice? Victor's nodding his head. Yeah, so that's what most folks will do. Just put the syringe in, drain it. You don't really need to get in there unless you're very anal and you want to make sure that it's all spick and span. But as long as you keep the top plate nice and clean and you keep it from being bent or warped so the head can move over it freely, you're good to go. This is something that you'll want to check whenever that waste ink pad counter reset, the alternating ink and error, whenever that happens, that's a nice reminder to check this box, to answer your question, Tony. So also, don't wait for the counter. If that error doesn't trip, but you see the box is full, go ahead and clean it or drain it or whatever your preference. So the other one is, I would say, arguably more important. This is something we talked about last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, but didn't really have the time allocated to address that one as well. So we're going to be looking at the ink bottles and how to, let's see, let me maneuver here. How's that? Almost. We want to see like here to here. Cool. Okay, good. Okay. So because I don't want to waste your guys' time by actually taking this over to the sink and rinsing it, I do have another one to replace, which is clear, so you can see what's going on a little bit better. But the process will be the same. You'll just have the one that you empty, you take it over to the sink, and we'll talk about. You'll also want just like an empty cup and some paper towels while you do this, just to keep mess to a minimum. Okay, all right, so whenever you're working with the tubes here, there's gonna be two tubes. So there's this kind of soft outer tubing, and then there's the hard inner tubing, which you end up seeing further into the gantry that ends up connecting to the print head. But this soft outer tubing is more of like a protective barrier than anything. And it's gonna be easiest for you to work with this, first of all, with the bottle empty. So we want our ink bottle here, and we're just gonna do one. So I'm going to agitate my ink nice and fresh, and then we're gonna go ahead and pour it back into its original container. I want to do this really good, get all that pigment back reintroduced. Okay. So then we can go ahead and take off the lid, pour it back into its original container here. Okay. Okay. So this bottle is empty now. So the strategy here is you pinch the outer tubing and so that you hold the position between the outer tubing and the inner tubing. Because if I just loosely pull it, I'm just going to pull off that soft outer tubing, and then the hard tube inside will stay in place. So if you pinch firmly, you can pull, let's see, you can pull the inner tube out as well and keep the spacing the same. So there we have it there. I'm going to put this back into place so I can have this kind of drip into a cup here. And I'll do the same. It's not going to be great for camera. This is kind of a difficult angle. But we'll do the same thing on the other tube. Have it go in there. Take this out. And what I would do, take this over to the sink, rinse it out with just warm water. That's it. Dry it thoroughly. And the reason that you want to do this maybe once a year, even though I shook it up quite well before this, the bottom is still quite full of sediment. You can kind of see the line there where that excess pigment is resting. So we would take this over to the sink, rinse it thoroughly, and bring it back. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to use this one so you can see how I'm putting the tubes back in. So what we'll do is pinch and guide this back in. And so as we're guiding this back in, you see how it's going to jam into the side of the bottle there. So what that would do is kind of kink the end of the line and kind of restrict my flow. Maybe not significantly, but over time it will become significant. So that's something you want to look for. We got Mr. Tony Jackson in the group here. Welcome, welcome. So as you guide this in, you want your other finger to kind of help it curve down into the bottle. And just go slow. And what we want is for that tube, let's see, right here. We want that tube not all the way at the bottom. We want it about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch from the bottom of the bottle. That way, as that settled ink builds up at the bottom of the bottle, it will not get sucked into the line. That's one of the reasons that you get clogs, is the consistency is not right. It pulls in that thick sludge, and then something clogs up because it wasn't prepared for that. So since I put this back in here, this bottle is a little bit differently sized. This is just the one I had on hand. So the spacing is not going to be the same to put the tube back. So what I'll do is put this other line back in. Do your best not to let them cross, not because it matters which hole in the bottle it goes in, but just so that you keep everything kind of neat and organized. So we'll guide this back into the bottle as well. Same thing. Okay, so I've got both. Let's see, there we go. I've got both almost at the bottom, about a 1/4 inch from the bottom, I'd say. And now I'm left with a little bit of a gap between the fitting and that soft tube. So I'll just take that and push it over the edge. And you want to, whoops, too much. You want to kind of be conscious of the position of the tube inside the bottle as well as you do this, because as you push this soft tubing on, it can and typically will push that tube too far down. So you see here how now it's at the very bottom of the bottle. So we can remove it and try a little more slack there. That's nice. And we'll do the same thing on the other one. Draw it out a little bit. Push it on. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. And then I would go ahead and put that back, put the cap on. I'm sorry, fill it up with ink. And after you fill it up, You can do the other ones. Go ahead and just do all of your bottles. Fill it all back up. When you turn the printer on, make sure to run the circulation a lot, maybe 2 minutes, just to make sure there's no air in the line that you introduced from this process, because as I had the tube in the cup, it's able to drain a little bit from that area, and we don't want to introduce air into the line where it can be avoided. Okay, any questions about that? All right, Mr. Benny, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, like 5 minutes before, the sediment that's in these containers, is that the titanium dioxide from the whiting?
Yes, yeah, it'll be the pigment for the whiting.
Is it because of an improper stirring, or it's just naturally happens that way?
It's just like house paint. It's a heavy pigment, so it settles to the bottom of the solution. You just have to agitate it thoroughly. But on days, let's say you're not using it, it'll settle, and no amount of, shaking, stirring will reintroduce it fully.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as the printer kind of ages. Any other questions? This actually ended up going a lot quicker than I was expecting, so we do have extra time for Q&A. No questions? You guys are all having perfect results with your machine every time. Business is just out of control with no need to ask for help on anything.
I got plenty of questions. You know me.
Let's hear them. That's what I'm here for.
Right. Okay, so I know what you're doing on the maintenance, and that's great. I've been watching a lot of the videos. I'd like to say hi to everybody out there for stream. But outside of what you were talking about, I just have a question.
Of course.
I'm just kind of looking for some better settings. I'm trying to make my prints pop on my whites, and I noticed that sometimes when I'm printing my whites, I'm testing different environments. I have like 50 shirts. I'm just playing with different environments, trying to see what setting works for me. So I guess my question is just to everybody out who's printing way longer than me. Do you have any good settings for white t-shirts, environments, anything that you can kind of give me some tips on to make them pop? I'm going through them, finding what works for me, which ones I like, but I'm just curious.
One of the first places I would start is looking at your graphic. Oh, it looks like Yvonne's joined us. Welcome. So one of the things that I would recommend is start by looking at the graphics. Make sure your graphics are nice and vibrant if you're looking for vibrant results, because ultimately what you put in is what it should put out.
Yes.
Make sure your nozzle check is looking good so that you can count on the ink flow being sufficient for your needs. After that, try increasing your color strength. Are you pre-treating your white shirts?
Yes, I'm pre-treating the white shirts, and I'm rolling with the color strength of 65. I'm doing it inside of the white cotton environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just noticed that on my screen, I was doing some reading. I noticed that on my screen, the colors pop out, but when I'm printing them, they're clear. Everything is clear, but it's just not as vibrant as well. So it probably has something to do with my monitor settings. It's giving me a brighter light than was coming out on the print. And that's what I was reading about. Do people find that?
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one part of the puzzle. Another one that I've seen is kind of a recent trend, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, a strategy for getting really badass prints on white that hold up better than any of the competitors. Put a white underbase on your white shirts. I've seen that circulating. Has anybody in the group done that and had good results? Ron, tell us about it, Mr. Ron.
Yeah, Ryan, can you tell me? Because I did it today, and it made my yellow really light.
Well, when you because I add a white underbase to my white garments when I really want want things to pop out there. Now, you know, one of the things you got to be careful with is, like I said, it all depends on your graphics in the very beginning. If those graphics are set up right now, if you got a real light color yellow, let's say, and then you drop when you put that behind that on top of that white base, now that's only going to make that more translucent. So you got to make sure that your colors are right. So if you're expecting a high density, real bright yellow, or maybe a deeper yellow, you may have to change your settings in your graphics to make sure that that's right.
Okay, I appreciate that, Bryan. Matter of fact, I was gonna call you anyways. Yes, appreciate it.
Hey, glad to help.
Good, awesome. Mr. Tony. Oh, I saw Tony raise his hand, and then we'll get to Cannon.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I have the same question, you know, how do you know which environment to use? You know, with the quality mode, production mode, you know, photo mode, that's what I'm having troubles.
That should be a pretty easy one to answer for you. Okay, so you have production mode and quality mode for the Plus. For the 330TX, it has, I think, a little more simplified environment settings, but for the Plus, you have quality mode, production mode. Production mode will print in a lower resolution in order to get the printer to run faster. Some folks have a preference of that. My preference is to use quality mode, which prints in the 1440 by 1440 resolution. And I find that gives me a nice print. Oh, Valerie, you unmuted yourself. We're going to mute you. Yeah, so quality mode is typically my preference. And then the specific environment will depend on what you're printing on. So once you've chosen quality mode or production mode, you have black, white, dark, and then some versions of the RIP will have white ink solid. So white ink solid is when your graphic is just white. That's what that one's for. The white environment for the cotton or the polyester is for white shirts. The black environment is for black shirts, and then everything else is considered dark. So if
Because
it's
I have a
not,
lot of trouble like with my graphics having white in it. The white doesn't pop. It's always
Okay.
seems dull.
first place to look is your pre-treat. There's a lot of different possibilities. That's a pretty broad spectrum of options that can make the white not pop. So I would start by reviewing your pre-treat instructions. We have a couple of creators' lives uploaded to our YouTube. Yeah, so those should give you a pretty good rundown of the basics. And I want you to start by playing with, pre-treat half of your shirt with the normal amount and the other half with twice as much. And heat press it dry, print one design across the whole shirt so that you can see, oh, is it the pre-treat or is it something else? Make sure your nozzle check is looking good. If you got a bunch of breaks in the white, that's going to be your problem right there. Or it might be a combination of the two. There's a lot of different choices to address that. So I would have you start there and then report back to us next week and let us know how it's going. Okay. All right, Cannon, go ahead.
On that pre-treatment, if you're going to pre-treat the white, you're going to use the white, the light color pre-treatment, even though you have white going down, right?
If you're putting white ink on a white shirt, I think a light coating of the dark pre-treat would serve you better.
And it won't yellow out the shirt?
Ron, what did you use?
Yeah, I use the dark pre-treat, and if you do it right, it's not going to yellow out the shirt. One of the things I've learned when you lay your pre-treat down, once you get that pre-treat down, put it under your press, let it sit there for a while. Don't go to press it right away, because if you press it right away and if you got a real heavy coating, now you're going to get crystallizations, you're going to get color changes, and because it's going to try and dry it out, and you're going to leave it on a lot longer. So let it hover under your press, almost let it dry. Then once it's pretty well done, now you can go ahead and do your final press.
Okay, so yeah, it is the dark pre-treatment then.
Yeah, and I would add, If you're finding that the pre-treat is yellowing your shirts or discoloring your shirts, make sure you're shaking it really, really good. Shake the crap out of it. Like way more than you think you need to, because you don't want any of that good. I don't really know what the stuff is in there. Hi, Michael. I don't know what the stuff specifically is in the pre-treat that makes it do its thing. But what I've seen is if you don't shake it enough, some of that stuff is at the bottom of the bottle. So the first batch of pours that you do from the jug will be less concentrated than you need it to be. And as you get to the bottom of the bottle and you're shaking it, more of that stuff will get introduced into the pre-treat and you'll have a more concentrated pour each time. And usually it's those that we see on the tail end of that jug where we see more yellowing occurring or more discoloration because that pre-treat became too concentrated.
Okay. Hey, real quick, Ron, me and you went back and forth on text the other day on pre-treatment. Yeah, real quick on that. I figured that I'd share with everybody. Sometimes you said sometimes depending on the shirt, you have to saturate it more. Will that the more if you saturate more, even though you dry it real good and do everything else, is that have you had washout issues with that or no?
I haven't had any washout issues. You know, like you say, you know, each brand of shirt takes a different amount of pre-treat. So you kind of gotta get a spare shirt, play around with it, see what it does, and you kind of work with that. I haven't had any issues with pre-treat washing out because you know that is basically a glue. Once it goes down, it's there. So it isn't the pre-treat's not going to come out. If anything that will come out is if your inks are not laid down right or your pre-treat's bad, then you're going to lose some ink color when you do your washing.
Or if you're not curing the garment enough after printing.
Okay, got it. So a little more than normal. I mean, more grams ain't going to affect the washability.
Should not. As long as you're not doing crystallization, I would refer you back to one of our previous Creators Lives for more information on crystallization.
Okay, yeah, that one was kind of outdated. I don't know if you guys updated because that one shows the Wagner sprayer. I don't use that sprayer, so.
I mean, it's the same for whatever sprayer or spraying device that you use. The general concept is the same with regards to crystallization and things like that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. Michael and Yvonne.
So I didn't get a chance to share my win because Michael
let's
had the
hear it.
camera off. But I just wanted to say that I had the opportunity to work with Ron on a new project, and the man can create some stuff.
All right. Can we get a sneak peek or are we waiting for the final result?
Well, I'll tell you what. Shout out to Michael and Yvonne. Guys, these guys are the real deal. They're there to help anybody that they can. When it comes to business, they are very diversified in what they do. I mean, it is just amazing. I got the product in the mail, and I'm gonna do a sneak peek here. Hope you guys can see this. Can you see this? Wait a minute, hold on. Hold tight. Let me do a white hat here. But it's these are laser cut leather patches.
Ooh.
Yes. I had some made for my business and for my son's business. And when I tell you they are professional, they are just knocked out of the park. These guys have got it going on. So if you want to elevate your business, hey guys, you know, the hat game is very big out there now. And with the leather patches and stuff like that, check them out. They will hook you up. They will take care of you.
There we go.
That the turnaround time was phenomenal. So thank you guys very much.
Right on. Love that. Love it. You know, that's the whole point of this kind of community effort. And Tony, I saw you were going to chime in there, so I'll let you do that in a second. But, you know, that's what I really love about this Creators Live whole situation that we got going on here is I highly encourage you guys to work with each other. You're all on the same team. I know some people initially may come in with the mindset that all of you are competitors, but there's more than enough business in just the United States alone to serve all of your guys' ordering needs. So work together, make sure you network. If you guys have websites, drop them into our chat here so everyone can kind of mingle around. Tony, go ahead.
Yes, I was just gonna do that. Since we like all on the same team, and we get like a list of namers and names so we can kind of get back with each other, because there's some things I want to ask Mike, I want to ask Victor, I want to ask Bryan, and I know you guys can expedite me because I'm so hungry. I done took this whole machine, I haven't, apart, and but we get busy over here, so I just want to catch up. That's it.
I'll encourage you, if you have like technical questions or operational questions, you can also email me directly. I help out, I think all of these guys on a semi-regular basis as needed. So my email is going to be here in the chat. It's Bryan@OmniPrintOnline.com. So whether you need to order something, or if you have questions or need help with something, if it's not me who can help you, I know who to connect you with. So always here to help.
Right. Appreciate that. Everybody.
Okay. Yvonne, did you have another question, or is it your hand still raised from before? Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions? I think we can wrap it up if not. Quick and easy one today. All right, you guys, we'll go ahead and close it out. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on our videos that we do. We're going to be really upping the production on our social media presence. So if you see our videos on YouTube, make sure to like it, share it, leave a little comment. I was going through our old comments and I saw Ron and Yvonne and Victor who commented on some of the old videos. So you guys, share the love. Anything that's got me in it, be like, yeah, Bryan rocks, and we'll catch you next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific. Woo, woo. And we'll go ahead and leave the chat open and available until, maybe another 5 minutes, so you guys have time to share all your contact information. So see you next time.